What is going on, everyone? It is GeneralTarheel bringing you another Draft League video. Now, for those of you who may not know, I originated from the APA, and I'm very happy to bring another APA Classic Showdown season. This is Season 17 featuring Ubers, which I am looking forward to greatly. Not only does that factor in just the Ubers, but it is the National Dex, so I get to bring back all the Pokemon that I haven't messed with yet in Gen 8. It's going to be a little bit relearning for some of the Pokemon that I haven't faced in a while, but I'm also greatly interested in it. We're bringing Megas back, Z-moves for Pokemon that aren't Ubers, which we'll get to in a second. So it's going to be a lot to take in, but I'm looking forward to it. I wasn't entirely sure if I wanted to record this, but I thought it wouldn't hurt just to at least do the Draft League video and get more stuff in my mind to see how comfortable I am with the team, especially when I'm about to do my first battle. Probably right after recording this, basically. So we'll have to see. But I'm going to hope I can upload it just to do something, but a lot can change, you know. So I had a few things in mind going into this draft, but then all was kind of like changed when I found out that I had the 24th draft position out of 24 coaches. So bottom wheel is traditionally good, but in an Ubers league, that's not that great. It really limits me to just the Uber scraps. Like, everyone can get 2 Ubers, but you can't spend more than 50 points on Ubers. And Ubers range between 30 points to 21. So if you get top tier Uber at 30 points, you can't get anything else. But you could get like a 21, 29, 28, 22, etc., etc. So I had to keep that in mind. There was a few things that I thought would probably drop to me that I would be kind of interested in. I had like maybe 2 realistic plans and then a few high hopes of maybe this Pokemon will make it to me somehow. So I kept those in mind, but really I didn't want to plan too hard. But surprisingly, one of my initial plans is actually what happened. So we're going to go little by little, piece by piece. I am going to show both of my picks at the same time because I'm doing them back to back in the draft, so it makes no sense to really put them separately. I might talk about them separately one by one, but I'm going to introduce them together because that makes the most sense to me, because I really try to make sure I have the synergy each round, or I make sure later on in the draft that I'm just picking up what I need so I don't get sniped, basically. So there was a lot to consider later at the draft. 22 Ubers have been picked in front of me. Only one coach opted not to get an Uber, and Beazle, who got Mega Lopunny, which is almost a borderline Uber, some might argue, especially since it got close combat and U-turn now, which is pretty darn good. That was one of the things I was actually hoping to consider dropped me, but it's okay. So one of the things I knew I wanted to try was around medium in the Ubers. It's Dialga. I was really interested in Dialga, and it did drop, and I was wondering what kind of support would be amazing for that. And I thought there's a lot of like top tier stuff I could grab. I could grab like Lando T with it. I could get Tapu Koko. I could do so many things. But I thought the best way to support it would probably be grassy terrain. And I didn't want to use Bulu. I definitely wanted to use the new form of grassy terrain in Rillaboom. So that's what I opted to go with. I went Dialga, Rillaboom, round 1 and 2. Rillaboom being the first pick overall for the second round. Dialga I'm happy with. Rillaboom, I think it looks amazing with grassy terrain and grassy glide specifically now. That's insane. I think it's going to be a pretty reliable Pokemon, and Dialga's only weaknesses being ground and fighting. And already limiting that ground weakness because of grassy terrain is huge. Basically just means if I get just good fighting resist after this, my Dialga is going to be a pain for every single team. And that is something I'm going to look forward to every week when it comes down to it. So Dialga was 24 points actually, and that was a Pokemon I was definitely happy with for the point value. Basically everything above was kind of taken. There was only like 3 Pokemon in the 25 or 26 point range that were still there, 3 or 4. And Dialga just made the most sense to me because of this idea with grassy terrain. I thought it would be perfect. Rillaboom was a little bit of an early pick, but I knew there was no way it was going to make it all the way through round 3. So getting it this early was definitely important with the idea I had for the team, and I'm really happy I opted to go with it. At first, I was a little skeptical, kind of scared, but I'm really happy I did it in the end because this is the main idea I had in mind, and I'm glad I stuck with it. So going over Dialga a little bit, especially the stats, this is what makes it a tremendous Uber. Just the monstrous stats that a cover legendary has. Basically 100 in every stat except speed at base 90, which is still good. In National Dex, that's still technically below average because 100 is the standard once again. But 90 is still solid, and I can easily support that with some two-wave control or maybe webs at one point later in the draft. I also can easily pair it along with Rillaboom's drum beating, which 100% lowers speed when the target is hit by it, which is very helpful. Specs Dialga with Draco Meteor is just absolutely going to wreck through teams if I opt to go that route. With 150 base special attack, that is just tremendous, and it's going to hurt so many people. I can also easily run the, it's not actually displaying the orb right now, but I can run the Adamant Orb, which is legal, which it doesn't describe it, but it gives me 1.2 times on my stat moves, which is Steel and Dragon, of course, which I can run that a lot and just run Flash Cannon, Draco Meteor / Dragon Pulse, and then just be annoying for the rest of the team and have like maybe one thing of coverage and then run rocks. Like Dialga's gonna be a very reliable rocker, and I'm totally fine with that. As for other things, it can set up with bulk up. It does get access to T-Wave, which is helpful. Earth Power is really nice for me to use because I will be in the grassy terrain. I can run Dialga physical if I want to. As you can see, I have base 120 attack, which is still tremendous, and I can really abuse that if I want to catch people off guard if they have good special checks. But in general, probably want to try to run the special moves, especially Draco Meteor. But Dialga's be able to click buttons for majority of the time. And it's just going to be so hard to kill. Like, yes, it's in grassy terrain, but 100 base HP, 120 defense, and 100 SPDF, that is a bulky boy. I can easily put a lot into HP and stuff, along with my whatever attack investment I opt to go for. Still be able to take hits and return them very, very well. Some things that I already take into consideration is, even though I don't get body press, which if Dialga gets later on, that's going to be huge, because this thing already has great defense. I can run Iron Defense in grassy terrain, because mainly ground type moves and fighting type moves are going to hit you on the physical side. And if I can capitalize on that, run a little bit of special bulk, start Iron Defensing in grassy terrain along with like leftovers on Dialga, I might just be unkillable. Especially if I opt to go for like rest, like Iron Defense or rest, and then some sort of move. That's definitely some setup I can see in the future. Other than that, choice specs, Adamant Orb, Assault Vest wouldn't be bad. Assault Vest would be a pretty decent set with Dialga, just to run 4 moves. Stealth Rocks is going to be nice on this, like I mentioned. And that's the main thing I'm going to be looking forward to Dialga. A lot of these Ubers are Dragon types, so it's good to have one like Dialga. Unfortunately, it means my Steel's not going to resist Dragon type, because I opted not to go another Steel later in the round, so my Steel will not resist both Dragon or Fairy, which is something I knew I needed to capitalize on later, and I was going to actually do that in the very next round. But first I want to talk a little bit more about Rillaboom, because this is the main reason I opted to go for this, was to pair, of course. Grassy Surge, Grassy Terrain, tremendous. Stats are actually very good on Rillaboom. This is just shy of Tapu Bulu. In my opinion, it's a better version of Tapu Bulu because of its moveset just being better. Which is debatable to some people because the stats are obviously better on Bulu. But I just like Rillaboom a little bit more. Only 5 less base attack stat. But this thing still hits like a truck. Grassy Terrain terrains in general were nerfed from 1.5 to 1.3 this generation. But that's not going to stop Rillaboom at all. The main move that really benefits from this terrain is Grassy Glide, which is new as of the recent DLC, which, as you can see, are base 70 power and user on grassy terrain has +1 priority. That is tremendous. Having something that strong of a move, just being able to hit for priority, which, if I can do the math correctly, which is always kind of shy, I think it's just under base 100 power. That might be a little bit too much. Whatever. Like around 90 base power for priority. That is amazing. That's including terrain, so I still have stab after that as well. So that's insane. That's absolutely amazing. To run with like Life Orb or Banded, that could be really big. Rillaboom's kind of fat too. 100 HP and 90 defense. That can take pretty good hits, be a bulky pivot in a lot of games because grassy terrain already acts as leftovers, and more lefties on top of that would be amazing. I get U-Tune for pivot. I get knockoff to get rid of annoying items, which is great. Leech Seed to really just take as much health as I can from them. I can run Grassy Seed with Acrobatics, which is tremendous. Grassy Seed, Acrobatics SD. Make myself my own Hawlucha, which is something I was considering going into draft, was picking up a Lucha. Lucha is something always you have to consider when you're picking up terrain. That's definitely something I was looking forward to. But having high horsepower and grassy terrain is so good for its moveset as well. Not having to run Earthquake for ground type coverage. Drain Punch is good. I'm just looking forward to using this thing. I think it's going to pair very well with Dialga, and I'm going to find a lot of uses for Rillaboom. It's not going to be a one-dimensional Pokemon, and it's going to do its job very well a lot of the weeks. And I already have pretty solid speed tiers in 90 and 85. They're kind of right next to one another, but it's good to have them 5 points apart, so it's really easy to predict what speed that some Pokemon are forced to do. They might be forced to run max speed now, and I'll have to have a little bit less of bulk investment versus my team. So next up, I was debating on a lot of things, but I knew these Pokemon that I wanted. One I was surprised made it back, and the other one I knew I wanted from the beginning when I chose Grassy Terrain, and I didn't want to risk it. And that was the likes of Nidoqueen and Togekiss. I'm putting Nidoqueen first because for some reason that's how they put it in, even though I typed out Togekiss first. But just makes it easier. Nidoqueen was a nice little 13 points, and Togekiss was a nice 14 points. Actually, I don't think I even mentioned the total amount of points. We had 135 base points. 50 of those can be contributed to Ubers. So, I had to keep that in mind. And we have to have 11 picks. We can't be short. So Nidoqueen and Togekiss. My reasoning behind these two, one, Togekiss, you need a good fairy in Ubers. You absolutely need one. If your fairy is trash in Ubers, that's going to hinder your team a lot. There is so many dragon types in Ubers that the fact that people don't even opt to get one of the Uber dragon types, they have top tier dragons just waiting. There's literally a line of them. You got Haxorus, Salamence, Dragonite, Garchomp. So many of them just waiting that some honestly went undrafted, which is crazy to think about. Haxorus and Salamence all went undrafted with Z's open, which is scary to me. So like just factoring that in, you need a good fairy, and Togekiss is definitely the fairy for that. Togekiss also pairs extremely well with Dialga. Dialga, once again, only weak to fighting and ground. Togekiss, 4 times resist and immune. Tremendous. Absolutely amazing pairing right there. Togekiss also being weak to poison, electric, rock, ice, steel. Dialga risks all of those except for the neutral on ice, which my team, as of these 4, are kind of ice weak, and I will try to patch that a little bit later on. But, like I mentioned before, Dialga with the Soul Vest can take some hits, so if needed, I can easily pair it that way, or make more of just a Spadef Dialga. So, because Grassy Terrain is going to give me plenty of health to deal with all those shenanigans. Nidoqueen is a Pokemon that I really wanted purely because I love to still have a very solid ground type in Grassy Terrain. I typically love Earthquake spam. Of course, that is not an option, so I went to the next best thing in Nidoqueen with Earth Power Sheer Force spam. Nidoqueen is just one of those Pokemon to where if I'm not sure what I want to draft, I pick up this thing because it has been so reliable for me in the past, and I use it very effectively. It is better than Nidoking. I have to say this whenever I talk about the Pokemon. If you think Nidoking is better than Nidoqueen, you're playing the game wrong. It's that simple. Nidoking's forced to run Timid in a lot of matchups. Nidoqueen runs Modest with Bulky and still hits just as hard as Nidoking, even though it has less special attack, because it can run Modest. And then it's just a more reliable Hazard Setter and T-Spikes than Stealth Rocks compared to Nidoking. Like, I just don't understand why you picked the other one over Queen. Absolute Queen right here. It's just... There's another solid Stealth Rock to go with Dialga, something where I don't have to pressure Dialga to bring rocks, which is huge, especially if I want to bring that spec set like I mentioned before. Sheer Force is just what we're going to be bringing basically every week. I'm not really good at bringing Poison Point unless I want to get a cheesy, bulky Nidoqueen set to try to catch them off guard or something. But the coverage on Nidoqueen is amazing. Typically you run Stabs in Sludge Wave and Earth Power, and then you have amazing coverage between like Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower. It's tremendous. And then you have things to be annoying with like Counter, Disable, Sucker Punch, Toxic T-Spikes, and Stealth Rocks again, Super Fang to just whittle them down to half, Taunt. I love this Pokemon so much, and I think pairing it with Togekiss just makes it extremely annoying, frankly, because this Pokemon already pairs well with it just like Dialga does, and it's going to be very helpful for it in the long run. Ice Weakness, once again, still there, but it's okay. Togekiss, I've only used this once before, but we all know how annoying Togekiss can be and how it can just win games on its own with Scarf Hair Slash, as long as your opponent is not lucky, because they have to be lucky to get through Serene Grace Air Slash runs, to be completely honest. Not really going to bring anything else except Serene Grace every week. Air Slash is just so free. The stats are tremendous. 120 special attack and 115 def is really what to look at. Can see a really bulky wall with still having 85 HP to pair with that 115 speed def is nice. 95 defense still isn't bad either. 80 speed, solid. So I got, once again, all these Pokemon in a 5 speed tier range, which is huge. I got 76, so 4 I guess, 80, 85, and 90. That's amazing speed tiers in my opinion already. Togekiss also lets me option to have more T-Wave control along with Tailwind for potential Dialga, which is huge. I get the option of screens if I want to. I can Wish Pass, I have Trick, I have Yawn. There's just so many things you can do with Togekiss. You can be a Nasty Plot setup sweeper, or you can just be the most annoying thing on the world, which is like T-Wave Air Slash. And I just love the potential of the team so far. But knowing what I have, this is where I finally opted to make a full-out plan after these 4. And I'm really happy with the plan I opted to make, and the fact that I was not sniped once. Not once was I sniped. Technically, but I wasn't at the end, which we'll get to, which is kind of funny. But, so I knew I needed to draft more power. I really considered another Uber, and I thought about it. I was thinking about Blaziken and Grassy Terrain. I think that's amazing. Or I just go budget fighting setup in Hawlucha that automatically gets its speed boost, unlike Blaziken, but doesn't hit as hard, and I'm going to have to SD. I'm going to have to deal with bulky Psychics. So it's just a lot of things to keep in mind there. And then I just needed to face way to break, because even though I love the support this team has and the how it centralizes around Dialga, I need to be able to break Ubers like hard. I need hard offense. So I knew what I wanted. I looked at the points of the other teams. I thought, okay, I'm safe for this round to not opt to go into those things. And I'm just going to get a little bit more support in the best of each typing that I feel like is still a need for this team. So I debated a few things when it came down to water types, because it is really difficult to pair a decent water and grassy terrain. Immediately, I think Pokemon like Seismitoad and Swampert are out of the option. Yes, hidden powers are gone. We're not allowing hidden powers, even though it's kind of still technically allowed under what we're playing under for National Dex, but we're not allowing hidden power, pursue, any of those things. They're still technically out of the game, so we're not doing it. But still, any grass coverage at all is going to wipe them. Even a Rindo Berry is not going to be that helpful. So I'm not opting to go one of those routes, especially when I already have a ground type in Nidoqueen. But one water type that I felt like was still going to be good and not one-dimensional anymore, which I think is great, is Blastoise, which is what I opted to go with. Having the Shell Smash option now, it is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Because I can easily run this thing, like especially offensive Shell Smash, and people have to prep for bulky Blastoise that they have to break through in grassy terrain. If they don't have grass coverage, then I'm getting leftovers on Blastoise plus grassy terrain, and even though I don't have reliable recovery on this thing, it almost looks like I have reliable recovery now, because I'm getting a lot over time if they're not touching me. So, already got a spinner as well now. Blastoise also gets Flip Turn, which is huge. I get a bulky water pivot with Flip Turn, which is beautiful. I'm very big on that. Flip Turn, you can see right there, base 60 physical, basically being a U-turn. Gotta love it. It can just do a lot of setup. It can run Body Press with Iron Defense, which is something I'm going to take into consideration. I've run that before, and I like it. Aqua Jet for priority is something always nice, especially for some of these Ubers, where they're just trying to sweep at the end with their crazy amount of speed. But typically, if you see the Shell Smash set, which you should see the move down here, yep, Shell Smash, probably run something like Hydro Pump, Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, something of the sort. It depends on the coverage that you need per game. One other thing that I take into consideration going into this is I can easily run Water Spout. I'm going to be getting my HP back in grassy terrain, so even if I'm coming in on hazards, Blastoise is going to at least be close to the max HP again, which is going to be the base 150 special water type move, which is going to hit hard. Even with only base 85 special attack, that's going to hit hard. If I'm able to Shell Smash for free and then get that, that might just be GG. That is a whole lot of damage to deal with right there. And to pair with this setup, along with Rillaboom and just a fat Dialga and fat Pokemon in Nidoqueen and Togekiss, I knew the Dark type I wanted 1,000,000% in the Alolan Persian. Parting Shot is going to be huge in this with Ubers, really trying to weaken their amount of damage output, which is typically tremendous. You have stats of like 140 and above in the offensive categories of physical and special that you really want to limit, and Alolan Persian benefits me so much with that. To where I can go into my bulky offense, take the hit, and then immediately threaten them out. Potentially gain momentum with Blastoise or Rillaboom with U-turn and Flip Turn. Tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. When I already have a decent Stealth Rocker and Nidoqueen, constantly get them in and out is great. I do have to keep in mind that I am healing my opponent with Grassy Terrain as well as I off to bring it. So the most Stealth Rock chip I can get, the better, in my opinion. But Alolan Persian, I'm gonna be honest, doesn't do too much apart from Parting Shot. It can be defensively fat with Fur Coat, which is typically what you want to run, but it can also run like Nasty Plot Technician or just run Technician and be a little bit annoying. 115 is a very good speed stat, finally puts me above that base 100. And the rest of the stats are lackluster, obviously, but it's just how good Parting Shot is, the tech that it has with like Fake Out, gets Gunk Shot for fairies if I really want to like set up with it. Lash Out would be interesting. I think it's really only going to work versus like a potential, I guess an opposing Parting Shot, or like an Intimidate user that comes in or something of the sort. But Knockoff Spam is going to be nice. It gets us Play Rough, Seed Bomb, and Grassy Terrain. Switcheroo if I want to hinder an opposing like fat Pokemon or something like that. Could be tremendous. And then U-Turn if I'm worried about something like Magic Bounce or something like that. Could be pretty big. Persian just does a good job with that. I wish it was a little cheaper than 10 points, but I definitely knew I had to get it. The reasoning behind that is for our Z point users. It is only for Pokemon that are not Ubers, so 20 points and below. And we can get as many as we like as long as we don't exceed 25 points, which is their draft point value. So I could technically get like Mew is 20 points, and then I can get a 5-point Pokemon for that I also want to make Z to go along with Mew, because Mew Z is insane. But I knew the two Pokemon I had in mind next, and I was really hoping one of them was going to be my Zmon, that I could pair something well with that. But it didn't really work out that way. But I think I don't care about that because his Pokemon with Z itself is going to be insane. So between that Pokemon and the Uber I opted to go with, I think the amount of offense I picked up in this round just absolutely secured it. I was worried of a few teams potentially sniping me. I talked to a few people and they reassured me they're not taking these. But I wanted to be safe because I wasn't really too worried about my lower points, because after this I'm going to have 5 points remaining for 3 Pokemon. I just really wanted to get these Pokemon because they're going to be the offensive staple for my team, and it's really going to be important for me to have these to break the Ubers throughout the season. So the first Pokemon that I opted, which I brought up before, was Blaziken. This is Uber Blaziken, so it does get Speed Boost. This was at 25 points, which is a little bit more than what I hoped for. It is one more than Dialga, so I spent 49, which is a good amount, but I'm totally fine with that. Last time I played Ubers in APA Classic, I had Mega Blaziken, and it brought me all the way to finals. Unfortunate second place, but I was really happy that season with how it played. And I'm looking forward to Blaziken having the option of any item it wants. Unfortunately, I had to go back to landing high jump kicks. I think I only lost one game missing on high jump kicks, so that was good back in the day. If I can have the exact same luck, I am totally fine with that, only missing like one to cost me. I could live fine, knowing I hit that many more. But Speed Boost is going to be huge. Unfortunately, I am at base 80. I think Mega Blaziken was at base 100, if I'm correct. I'm actually going to check that. Yeah, so Mega Blaziken slightly better, but Blaziken was a point Mega Blaziken was a point cheaper than normal Blaziken, which I'm a little surprised about. Yes, you can change up the item, but initially being at base 100 benefits Mega Blaziken so much more than being at base 80. Like, there's so many more Scarfers that can deal with this form of Blaziken, but I still wanted to do this over Hawlucha. I've used Hawlucha in terrain before. It's whatever. Yes, technically I used Blaziken before, but Mega Blaziken at least, but I wanted to try normal Blaziken in terrain. And I just felt like the overall damage output of Blaziken is going to be more beneficial. I can be mixed, unlike Hawlucha. And I have base 120 attack compared to Hawlucha's base 93. Very underwhelming. Hawlucha needs to sit up. It's not really going to be able to break Ubers. Blaziken can still get an SD, especially in grassy terrain, if their only way to hit me is ground type coverage. Or I get an SD because I already got a Parting Shot directly into Blaziken, and then I'm a massive threat with a huge attack stat and getting Speed Boost behind me, SD Protect, and just maybe 2 moves. I could just sweep a team, depending on what coverage I need to run. So definitely going to be nice. And the other offense that I opted to go with Blaziken this round was a high-tier Pokemon in Kartana. Now, I've never used Kartana, but I have seen it used well. I know Kartana Tapu Bulu was a common thing on the ladder in OU for Gen 7. And I'm looking forward to what this thing can do, frankly. This is going to be my one of my Z users, so I can run Grassy Z a lot. 180 base attack in grassy terrain with Grassy Z, or just Choice Band Kartana in general, is going to hit like a truck, my guy. That is going to hurt a lot of teams. And just having access to a lot of other Zs, like Darkinium Z, Phytinium Z, Psychic Z, like, it's going to be so good for Kartana to potentially sweep. And the fact that Hidden Power Fire is gone makes this Pokemon so much better. Because, obviously, this thing doesn't want to take special hits. It can still die to, like, a really strong offensive Shadow Ball from, like, Gengar and stuff like that, for example. But, you just want to take into consideration that not having that coverage could be big. And Parting Shot from Persian is benefiting these two Pokemon so much. So Kartana does double up in typing on Pokemon I already have, with my first two picks in Dialga and Rillaboom. But the amount of offensive pressure that Kartana brings and the sweeping potential it brings with Beast Boost is insane. I just got two insane breakers along with two potential boost sweepers in Speed Boost Blaziken and Beast Boost Kartana. Kartana can, obviously, if you make it timid, with like no attack investment, you can make it speed boosting, but in general I'm probably going to want to make it attack boosting Kartana and just try to at least T-Wave things that might be faster than me with the likes of Togekiss plus Dialga. Or I potentially just get the correct checks where needed, but I have high hopes for Kartana, and I expect this honestly to be my kill leader. I really do. I have a lot of potential kill leaders in the likes of Kartana, Blaziken, Rillaboom, and Dialga, but I'm expecting to have Kartana be the main leader. So I'm hoping it keeps me there. Let me know in the comments what you think my kill leader would be, and of course later on what you think for the rest of the draft. So these are my top tier Pokemon that I'm going to be bringing most weeks, and I'm very happy that 8 of my 11 I can see myself bringing every week, and a lot of people know that too. But having 5 points for 3 Pokemon left is a little bit underwhelming. But I knew the exact picks I wanted, and they all made it back, so I was really, really happy. So I'm just going to talk about them kind of all at once. So the next round, I was able to get Drifblim, which I think is tremendous for 2 points. Purely because I have an Unburdened Sweeper now. Yes, it's not as strong as Hawlucha. It doesn't have a good setup as Hawlucha. Even though it's a similar like special attack range compared to its 93 attack. But only getting Calm Mind, not Nasty Plot, I believe. Yeah, just Calm Mind. But can be mixed on Drifblim. That is something to take into consideration. It does get Strength Sap to where I can be annoying and really just live. And then I also get Poltergeist now, I believe, in the last DLC. Oh, did I not get it? Oh, wow. Wait, no. Well, no, Grassy Glab was on the other one. Yeah, it would be here. Well, maybe it didn't get it. Whatever. Okay. Either way, I think Drifblim is still tremendous. Just the acrobatics Unburden is going to be great with Grassy Seed, similar to Rillaboom. But actually getting Unburden, the speed boost is going to be huge. I'm going to be able to stop a lot of things that are trying to sweep me just by sending in Drifblim and potentially getting off coverage. Or just outspeeding them and being cheesy and like putting out a Destiny Bond. I could definitely see that being a trick. Hex is going to be nice if I get up T-Spikes with like Nidoqueen, and then I can Hex spam later with like Unburden or something like that. That'd be sick. Magico is helpful. Memento is going to be huge. Drifblim is one of my other Zs to go along with Kartana, so I can run Z Memento and then literally just getting like a healthy Shell Smash Blastoise, ST Blaziken, or Kartana. You name it. Like, it's going to be really tough for some teams to deal with this. I get more T-Wave control. I get Trick. It's just Will-O-Wisp is nice for physical attackers. Like, I think this is really, really solid. I am really happy with this pick, especially it only being 2 points. That really helped me out a lot. And one other thing I wanted to do is pick up a decent electric type, because I think that's always good. Another 2-point Pokemon down there that I've used before that I'm comfortable with is Manectric. I actually used this in the previous APA season I played at Season 15. I was pretty happy with Manectric, not gonna lie. I thought it was pretty good still. I wish I got slightly better coverage. It really sucks that I lost Hidden Power, because it doesn't really have anything for ground types, and it doesn't have grass coverage that I can like abuse in grassy terrain compared to like Heliolisk, Grass Knot or something like that. That would be really big for this team. But I feel like I could use Manectric decently. 105 speed tier puts me right beneath Kartana. Makes it a little bit annoying for like around base 100s and stuff, which is good. I get Switcheroo again to get rid of items if I want to. T-Wave, once again. More Toxics. Volt Switch for Momentum is great. Yeah, honestly, Manectric can just do its job 1 or 2 times. I think I brought it twice in APA Season 15. It did a really good job in one game that actually chipped away at the team so well that I was able to win because of it. The other time it did average. So, I'm happy with that. Driplim is something I can see myself bringing probably more than twice, just to catch teams off guard. But like this initial 8 is just so insane that I don't know how much I'll bring it, which I think is good. And lastly, this is where I got sniped somewhat. If you type in Basculin, you see there's a Basculin red stripe, which isn't labeled, and you see Basculin blue striped. Right after I got Manectric, I think 2 picks after, someone picked up Basculin blue. Or they just said Basculin, and I was just like in chat, I was like, both Basculin are on the dock, which one are you getting? And I was like, oh, I'll get Basculin blue. Which was technically a snipe, because blue is definitely my preferred color over red. But I was still very happy to pick up Basculin red. I am very surprised no one else picked it up. I think this is the best Pokemon for 1 point in the entire 1 point tier. The 1 point tier was absolute doo-doo. So getting Basculin with adaptability is going to be great. This thing does get Flip Turn now, so Choice Band Flip Turn is going to be huge. More momentum to get around my Pokemon makes me very happy. Right now this thing is running around, if you see Enjoy's Live, is doing very well with like Choice Specs Hydro Pump adaptability. That is tremendous in my opinion, and I'm going to use something very similar if I ever use this Pokemon. Because its damage is, or like its base stats are a little lacking in 92 and 80, but adaptability does pick up for that a little bit. So it is pretty beneficial. This thing is really probably just going to be able to wall break for me, or maybe be a revenge killer a few turns, maybe some priority. Banded Aqua Jet with adaptability is going to help me out a lot. I'm going to have to see. I think it was just the best Pokemon for 1 point, and that's why I opted to go for it. If it proves not to be the best in the world, then so be it. It's a 1 point Pokemon. I looked at a lot of teams that opted to get a lot of heavy early on, and then maybe had like 4 or 5 bad Pokemon, but the bad Pokemon still cost them like 5 or 6 points. And I'm so happy that I got all these good Pokemon 10 points and above, and then only had to spend 5 points on mediocre Pokemon that I still think I'm going to do pretty well with. I'm really happy about that. Of course, it could be their bias to where they think those Pokemon are also pretty good, but I don't know how you look at a Chargebug and a Carkol and a freaking Pikachu and tell me it's going to do a good job. So, we'll have to see. Those are just some of those I remember when I was doing power rankings. Which, I did power rankings with Panther for just for the coaches, just to do a little tradition deal. And I did get 5th, because Panther liked my team and I didn't want to put too much bias in it since I was the other one rating. So I did get 5th out of 24 coaches for this team. I'm really, really happy with it. I spent all 135 points. My Z users are Kartana and below, so I have Kartana, Drifblim, Manectric, and Basculin. If you see me running it on anything else except Kartana, potentially Drifblim, Z Memento, probably not Manectric. I really want a boosting item in like either Magnet or Choice Specs on Manectric, more than likely. Or something that like, yeah, so then I could switch a Rune Pokemon and really hurt it, like Choice Scarf or Choice Specs. Basculin, maybe. I think just Banded Water Stab with adaptability is huge. So mainly Kartana Z. So have to keep that in mind. I love this team. I could keep talking about it and ramble on, but I truly think my team is amazing. The only weaknesses I can acknowledge is that I kind of have an ice weakness. It really hurts Blastoise, especially if there's a freeze-dry team on week, because Blaziken is a fire type, but it is not that bulky. 80s, 70s, not that great. Excuse me. Incineroar was on one of my plans, but then when I opted to go Blaziken, it didn't matter. Incineroar would have been sniped to me anyways, so completely happy with how this went. A little ice weak. I could have used one more potential Stealth Rocker, because it's going to be on Nidoqueen or Dialga, which I'm totally fine with, because they're tremendous Stealth Rockers and very reliable. It's just, I can see sometimes I might not want to force rocks, but it'd be like that. I could also use a potential Spiker, but boots are also everywhere, so I'm not worried about that too much. I have really good balance throughout this team, and if I feel like I can pick up a Spiker somewhere, I'm going to, but as of right now, I don't want to change this team at all. A lot of coaches made immediate transactions right after the draft, and I was so surprised some people did that. I never think I've done that in the past, unless I was making a trade with a coach immediately for a specific FA, but like that's it. So I'm very happy. Let me know what y'all think down below, and let me know what you think of the battles. I'll probably do post-com if I do the battles with a brief team builder beforehand. I don't really want to do live com because I'm more in-depth in post-com and everything. But if there's anything you would like to see throughout this series, please let me know. It's going to be a 10-week season. Gonna just be uploading one probably every Saturday, more than likely. I'm going to wait a week so that all my games are make sure they're underway and everything. But I'm going to be heading to the beach after I do this battle. Really look forward to that. I hope you all are doing well during this quarantine. Don't worry, I'm going to keep my space at the beach. I'm going to be wearing a mask if anyone gets near me. Please wear a mask in public if you live in the United States. We are suffering. Please. Like, it's just not fair. Please be smart about it. But everyone be safe as well. Alright, I'm rambling on too much. I'm looking forward to this. Peace out, everyone.